You won't believe what happened right before ABBA's biggest triumph. This is the hidden story behind Agnetha and Bjorn that shaped ABBA's music forever. What unfolded behind closed doors would change everything. Take a deep breath, pause for a moment, and let yourself step into their world. Picture this, it's the early 1970s, and ABBA is skyrocketing to fame, spreading their infectious pop melodies and unmistakable Swedish charm across the globe. But behind their radiant smiles and glamorous performances, a deeply personal drama was quietly unfolding, a love story that would eventually unravel into heartbreak and lingering bitterness, leaving an indelible mark on the band's music and legacy. Agnetha Faltskog, the golden-haired songstress whose voice could captivate anyone, and Bjorn Ulvaeus, the talented songwriter and creative force, appeared destined for a fairy tale romance. Yet their marriage proved far from the harmony their melodies suggested, ultimately leading to a split that still casts a shadow over their story decades later. Agnetha and Bjorn first met in 1969, both at the start of promising careers. Bjorn, already gaining recognition as a songwriter, encountered Agnetha, an emerging star in Sweden's music scene, at a social gathering. Their connection was immediate and magnetic, and soon they became inseparable, Sweden's ultimate musical power couple. The spark between them would later infuse ABBA's songs with heart and emotion, but beneath the glittering partnership, the seeds of future struggles were quietly taking root. Agnetha's delicate sensitivity and shyness contrasted sharply with Bjorn's practical and determined nature, creating a dynamic that evolved from romantic allure into constant tension. The couple married in 1971, around the time ABBA was officially forming. For a while, their life mirrored the uplifting tunes they produced, touring internationally, raising their two children, Linda and Christian, and standing at the center of a global musical phenomenon. Yet fame, as brilliant as it seemed, had its hidden dangers. While Bjorn thrived in the limelight, seizing every opportunity to advance the band, Agnetha struggled with the relentless demands and the separation from the family she cherished. Balancing motherhood with the pressures of international stardom created an ongoing tension that quietly corroded their relationship. Between 1974 and 1977, ABBA reached their golden era, propelled by the Eurovision-winning hit Waterloo. Success followed with classics like Dancing Queen and Mamma Mia, cementing their status as pop legends. But behind the glittering facade, Agnetha faced the emotional toll of endless travel and public expectation. Her yearning for stability grew as she missed vital moments in her children's lives, leaving her feeling increasingly alone in her marriage. For Bjorn, the whirlwind of fame was exhilarating, a chance to expand ABBA's influence. For Agnetha, it was a dizzying, isolating blur, driving an ever-widening gap between them. At home, the tension was palpable. When they weren't touring, the couple existed in parallel worlds under the same roof. Bjorn immersed himself in the studio, consumed by work, while Agnetha found solace in her children and the quiet of the countryside. Attempts to bridge the distance proved difficult, as their diverging needs and desires compounded the strain on a relationship that was once full of promise and passion. The differences in how they approached fame and family life slowly turned into a constant source of tension. Bjorn's relentless ambition often collided with Agnetha's longing for a quieter, more grounded existence. He pushed for long tours, endless public appearances, and every opportunity to keep ABBA at the top, convinced they couldn't afford to let any moment slip by. Agnetha, on the other hand, yearned for time at home with her children, feeling increasingly weighed down and isolated by the whirlwind of their demanding lifestyle. What might have seemed like small disagreements to outsiders gradually deepened into a rift neither could bridge. Tensions frequently spilled over into the studio. Agnetha's reluctance to be constantly on the move created friction whenever Bjorn and the other members scheduled extended tours. He often brushed off her concerns, seeing them as obstacles to ABBA's unstoppable success. Their arguments were sometimes followed by long, silent stretches, with Agnetha retreating inward while Bjorn immersed himself in the next big project. The strain was intensified by Agnetha's fear of flying, turning every tour announcement into a moment of anxiety, a pressure Bjorn never fully comprehended. The contrast between their public image and private reality was striking. To fans and the world, they seemed like a flawless, fairy tale couple. Yet behind closed doors, the cracks were evident. Friends and colleagues noticed the subtle sadness in Agnetha's eyes during recording sessions, glimpses of a longing for a simpler life that Bjorn's ambitions simply couldn't allow. By 1979, the marriage had reached a breaking point. Agnetha could no longer endure the emotional drain of a relationship that demanded her complete surrender. Bjorn, in contrast, seemed to move on almost immediately, entering a new relationship soon after their separation. For Agnetha, witnessing this rapid shift was a bitter blow. She faced the double heartbreak of losing both her husband and the vision of the life she had imagined, now complicated by the reality of seeing him with someone new within months. While the divorce stunned the public, those close to them were less surprised. Agnetha had long confided in friends about her growing loneliness and despair, feeling that she was gradually losing herself in a marriage that gave little in return. Ultimately, it was Agnetha who took the step to end the relationship. She later admitted that, by that time, she felt like a shadow of her former self, drained, diminished, and worn out by a marriage that demanded everything while offering little in return. Bjorn's swift rebound only magnified her pain, leaving her with a profound sense of betrayal. Tabloids cast her as the abandoned wife, a simplification, yes, but one rooted in the reality of her isolation and heartbreak. The emotional toll of these months inevitably seeped into ABBA's music. Songs like The Winner Takes It All carried an authenticity that left fans wondering how much mirrored Agnetha's own heartache. Even after their divorce, they had to maintain a professional relationship for the sake of the band, a situation fraught with emotional complexity and lingering tension. While Bjorn often downplayed the bitterness of their split, Agnetha's reflections reveal a deeper, quieter pain. The struggle of balancing personal needs with global stardom, and the feeling that her voice was often overshadowed by Bjorn's vision for their shared future. For years after their separation, Agnetha and Bjorn navigated the delicate, often awkward balance of performing together while their emotional wounds were still raw. They maintained a professional front for the sake of ABBA, but cracks inevitably appeared, particularly during their final tours. Interactions that once bubbled with warmth, laughter, and playful banter became measured and formal, reflecting the emotional distance that had come to define their relationship. For Agnetha, the pain ran deeper than the loss of her marriage. It was the realization that she had given so much of herself, sacrificing her own needs and identity to sustain a union that ultimately could not endure. Bjorn, in his reflections, has expressed regret for the hurt their divorce caused, yet he often frames those turbulent years as a period that fueled ABBA's creative genius, a perspective that underscores the differences in how they processed the end of their marriage. Agnetha, who has chosen a more private life since then, remains cautious when revisiting those times, preferring to focus on her life beyond the spotlight of ABBA. Even so, a sense of unfinished business lingers in her words and interviews, hinting at emotions left unresolved. Though decades have passed and the members of ABBA have moved forward in different directions, the story of Agnetha and Bjorn's marriage continues to captivate fans and the media alike. Their relationship exemplifies the tension between personal desire and professional ambition, between love and career, and between closeness and isolation. It is a vivid reminder that behind even the most dazzling success stories can lie profound emotional wounds. The enduring fascination with their story speaks to the complexity of their bond, and fans still pore over interviews, lyrics, and performances, searching for glimpses of the reality behind the music. Agnetha's solo work, filled with themes of love, heartbreak, and resilience, is often seen as an extension of the emotional journey she began during her time with ABBA. Despite the years, the shadow of the past continues to hover over both of them, a quiet reminder that some wounds never fully heal, even in the brightest spotlight. Their story, woven with love, loss, and dreams that could not fully come true, remains an inseparable part of ABBA's legacy, a bittersweet illustration of the price of success and the fragility of human connections. For Bjorn, the story took a different path. He channeled his experiences into his creative work, co-writing musicals and other projects that allowed him to reflect on the past while moving forward. Yet the echo of their relationship has never entirely disappeared from his public image. Even when ABBA reunited for recent digital ventures, fans remained captivated by the dynamic between Agnetha and Bjorn, speculating whether time had healed any of the old wounds. Their story endures not merely because of the music they created, but because it captures the complexities of love, ambition, and the sacrifices required to achieve greatness. It reminds us that even those who seem to have everything, a fairy tale career, unparalleled talent, and fame, can experience heartache that leaves a lasting imprint. For many, Agnetha and Bjorn's relationship represents the bittersweet reality of connections formed in the limelight, and the personal costs often hidden behind professional triumphs. So, what do you think about their story? Does it feel like a cautionary tale of love in the spotlight, or a testament to human resilience? Share your thoughts and let us know how this story resonates with you.